My wife denied me intimacy for a complete month since our wedding day, but the reason behind it turned out to be shocking. My wife rejected my intimate advances every single night following our marriage ceremony for one entire month. When I pressed her for explanations, she stated, coldly, "My physical form. My personal decision, you possess zero entitlement here." I then formally submitted court papers seeking marriage dissolution. What unfolded afterward proved entirely unexpected. Before we proceed further, write down which nation you're viewing this from in your current age. Enjoy the narrative. If somebody had revealed the actual truth to me back then, on that specific day, I likely wouldn't have accepted it. I remained positioned near the altar, palms damp with sweat, heart hammering violently as though attempting to burst free from my chest cavity. Lauren appeared absolutely flawless. The ivory wedding gown emphasized her silhouette beautifully. Her grin radiated so intensely I scarcely registered either guests or musical notes, just her focused gaze, as if I represented the sole male existence globally, being romantically involved almost 2 full years. Counter felt like a minor progression toward something more significant. Thus, we eventually reached the City Hall steps. Beside me stood Michael, my junior sibling and ceremonial supporter. He nudged my ribs sharply with his elbow, whispering loudly enough that the entire front row tittered. "You've hit the jackpot with this one, Daniel." Amelia offered a faint smirk. Back in those moments, I authentically trusted fortune favored me. We traded rings, recited mutual promises, shared a ceremonial kiss-all according to established tradition, through hardships and celebrations alike. Back then, those phrases seemed everlasting to me, amusing to recollect now. Post-ceremony involved a cafe gathering, companions, celebratory speeches, shared amusement. Michael clambered atop a chair, clutching a microphone, slightly intoxicated, declaring something akin to, Daniel perpetually functioned as the eldest, the intellectual, the accomplished individual. Hauled every one of us upward. Attendees chuckled. I patted his shoulder firmly. Lauren chuckled alongside me, her arm linked securely with mine. She swayed, rhythmically, pressed intimately against me, radiating warmth. I felt convinced this constitutes authenticity. By nighttime, we accessed our Chicago apartment, my former solitary den, finally transforming into our shared dwelling space. Both utterly drained, I nonetheless anticipated that closeness intensely, craved experiencing that we now constituted an authentic familial unit. I encircled her waist tenderly, drawing her near, and instantly Lauren withdrew, physically, not presently, Daniel. Her vocal tone felt arid, unfamiliar. My physical self, my autonomous selection. I immobilized completely. "What, Lauren? Is occurring?" She merely flicked her wrist dismissively, proceeding directly toward the bathroom. The lightweight door secured itself with a muted click. I lingered, standing centrally within the bedroom, wearing formal attire, band encircling my digit, yet bearing sensations resembling forceful expulsion. I attributed everything then to tension overload. Matrimonial proceedings, attendees, frayed nerves. She'd regained equilibrium, soothed herself. This failed to materialize, neither the subsequent diurnal cycle, nor following 7 days. Each dusk I attempted approaching, embracing, kissing affectionately. Lauren consistently retracted, employing that identical expression, my physical self, my autonomous selection. Once she even swiveled, presenting her dorsal aspect toward me, and activated her cellular device. Reclined adjacent, screen illumination flickered across wall surfaces, fingertips traversing its surface rapidly. I remained incapable of comprehending what captivated her beyond my presence. Weeks progressed, and internally, one notion increasingly gnawed. Where did I miscalculate? I inquired cautiously, "Lauren, is everything acceptable?" "Potentially, I offended you unintentionally." "Everything's perfectly fine," she'd reply, visual attention unwavering from her device. Cease intruding. Once I questioned, "To whom are you dispatching messages?" "Occupational matters," she clipped tersely, yet her inflection sounded peculiarly monotonic. Deception permeated each syllable. Michael abruptly initiated frequenting our residence. Previously, we'd interacted less routinely. I predominantly vanished onto construction zones, establishing my commercial enterprise laboriously across years. Presently, he commenced appearing without preliminary notification, verifying circumstances. Sibling, he'd articulate uncapping beer containers directly upon the culinary workspace. "So, how's the marital existence? Content?" He'd guffaw, while discomfort expanded within me. Periodically, I intercepted his ocular focus lingering upon Lauren, and she reciprocated with rapid nods, seemingly coordinating covertly. Yeah, absurdity. I'd internally dismiss. Shared genetic lineage. Why fabricate suspicions? Yet, suspicion became unnecessary. Everything commenced surfacing autonomously. I'd have persistently deluded myself regarding normalcy, absent those minutiae. They erode internally, those trivialities. Lauren departed our domestic environment increasingly routinely, citing groceries. Manicure appointments, meeting companions, reappeared tardily, devoid of parcels. To interrogations, she'd retort nasally. Failed procurement attempts, shall revisit later. Subsequently emerged her monetary dialogues, initially cautious. E.g. What's our account standing? Investment destinations. Deposit balances. I responded, truthfully. Concealment contradicts my nature. My commercial venture originated from absolute scratch. One decrepit cargo van accompanied by a claw hammer occupying its luggage compartment. Presently, I command a competent crew, leased administrative quarters, yet finances remain stringently monitored. Should requirements emerge, we'd confer, acquire jointly. Consistently thus. Lauren listened, nodding. Merely her ocular organs slid elsewhere, as though mentally computing figures. Michael frequented more intensively. Officially, he functioned beneath me as construction superintendent. I'd installed him occupationally to generate income, preventing idle wandering. He initially rejoiced, perceiving constructive contribution. However, his amplified domestic loitering amplified internal frigid sensations. "So Daniel, how's the spouse?" Relished initiating thus. I deflect. "Everything's standard, Michael." Accompanied by that slick smirk. One afternoon, I returned prematurely from a project site. Lauren remained oblivious to my domestic presence. Stationed within the corridor, I distinguished her vocalization emanating from the lavatory, muffled, as though whispering to somebody. He comprehends absolutely nothing. Persists slightly longer. I rooted immovably. Cardiac activity throbbed inside my larynx. I'm no cinematic protagonist, refrained from demolishing barriers or shrieking. I simply stepped nearer and tapped gently. "Lauren, quietness." Subsequently, she emerged, clasping her communicational apparatus, ocular expressions hollow. "To whom were you vocalizing?" I interrogated evenly. "A companion." "Which specific companion?" "Paige." I recognized each acquaintance by nomenclature. Paige relocated to Seattle. Long proceeding. Communications infrequent. Contemplated articulating this, yet remained silent. She traversed beyond me, avoiding visual engagement. From that nocturnal period, I discontinued crediting verbalizations, commenced trusting tangible evidence. I accessed our mutual financial repository, scrutinized transactional movements. $3,000, $5,000, devoid of precise descriptors. Retail outlet, transportation, yet observed zero accompanying documentation. Subsequently, investigated telephonic communication specifics. Identical carrier subscription, numerous digits. However, one recurred most dominantly. Protracted conversations during late nocturnal hours whilst I slumbered. Numerical sequence. Michael, sibling. Genetic. I resisted rummaging through her cellular device. Disinclined towards such degradation, Yet once she neglected it upon the culinary surface whilst entering the lavatory. Display illuminated. Michael, I perceived merely a fragment. Everything advances per strategy. Refrained from anxiety. I resisted accessing further. Simply solidified posture. Internally, everything disintegrated. Michael materialized at the construction zone subsequent diurnal cycle. Feigning normalcy. What's occurring? Sibling, domestic affairs. He chortled, pouring Java within my private chamber. I observed him contemplating how many annual cycles shielded his posterior. He perpetually embodied the jester. Either debts or revelries, I dragged him forcibly skyward. Believed presently he'd awaken intellectually. Michael, you frequently contact Lauren telephonically. I questioned composedly. He immobilized momentarily, subsequently relaxed. Merely functional matters. You comprehend her inquiries. Feminine trivialities. I nodded affirmatively and uttered nil further, yet internally everything solidified resembling mineral substance. That nocturnal cycle I remained entirely unsleeping. Lauren reclined adjacently, engrossed within her luminous panel. I rotated, confronting the partition. Occupationally, that morning, I conferred with legal counsel, requested updating our marital contractual agreement. During our nuptials, he'd advocated it for procedural orderliness. Lauren had chuckled then, autographing as though pure formality. Presently, this contract might transform into my solitary salvation mechanism. Since I initiated comprehending, I'm being systematically deceived, moreover, collaboratively. The entire subsequent hebdomad, I functioned mechanically, diurnally, occupation, construction zones, numerical data, personnel, everything superficially normative. However, upon achieving solitude, identical expressions cycled internally. Everything advances per strategy, refrain from anxiety, and Michael, my sibling, a damnable sibling. I remained ignorant regarding their precise scheming, its desired trusting disconstituted stupidity. Yet my cardiac organ already comprehended totality. Hence, I initiated operating covertly. Primarily, I approached legal representative Stephen. We'd collaborated since my inaugural office leasing contractual signature. Daniel, what transpired, serving me across optical lenses. Require marital contract reassessment. Additionally, I faltered. A spouse commits infidelity demonstrably. Can matrimony undergo invalidation? He merely nodded. Feasible, given evidentiary support. However, mere oration proves insufficient. Necessitates imagery, textual exchanges. Observers. I nodded mutely. Shall you orchestrate acquisition? He probed. Affirmative, I responded. Shall execute completely. Subsequent diurnal cycle, I visited an acquaintance, functioning privately as investigator, peculiar occupying his smoke-pregnated chamber, elucidating my objectives. Lifelong-eyed, glorified familial honesty, absence of contamination. Suspect your sibling cohabitates with your spouse, interrogated bluntly. Suspect, cognizant, acceptable, furnish addresses, vehicular information, customary rendezvous points. Disclosed completely. He nodded. Transcribed. Maximum 1 hebdomad. Capturable material exists. Shall capture. Nocturnally, Lauren persisted, fixating upon her communicational device. Periodically, upon my proximal movement, she'd extinguish illumination, so abruptly resembling infant abduction prevention. Key, evolved, irritable, periodically, combative. Once, I inadvertently stated, where lingered you so extensively? Propelled vehicular ignition instruments toward my cranium. Michael occupationally initiated evading me. Ceased elevating visual focus. Communicated concisely. Jocularity vanished inexplicably. Accessed project zones exclusively during my confirmed absence. Hebdomad's conclusion, investigator summoned. Arrive. I penetrated his operational chamber. He extracted a tablet device, Multiple photographic imprints. Cardiac activity reverberated inside my larynx whilst perusing. Lauren, my marital partner, positioned within a peripheral Chicago recreational area. Advanced nocturnal period, initially isolated. Subsequently, Michael's arrival. Recognized him instantaneously, despite angular limitation. My aged Ford, which I had presented, preventing taxi expenditures. He disembarked. She sprinted toward him, embraced, kissed. Every image depicted his manual contact upon her dorsal region, her palmar contact within his capillary structure. I observed these frames, sensing nothingness, neither fury nor anguish, void, and frigidity, as though expelled outdoors, midwinter time, barefooted. Eveningly, I returned domestically, normatively. Lauren occupied culinary territory, sectioning salad constituents, grinning, artificially. Greetings. How evolved your diurnal cycle? I nodded affirmatively, peripherally glimpsing her flickering apparatus upon tabular surface. Even curiosity regarding its contents vanished. Seated myself oppositely, observing her manipulating blades across cutting platforms. Kissing where localized yourself yesterday? Kai interrogated. He, uninterrupted by cutting motions, near Elizabeth's residence, who represents Michael. I interrogated softly, articulating each lexeme. She immobilized. Manual appendage, clutching blade, suspended atmospherically. Subsequently observed me lethargically, grinning, artificially, distortedly. Complete absurdity. What fabricate you presently? I resisted disputation, simply elevated from seating. What execute you? Vocal tonality, sharpened. Nothingness, desire, somnolence, I articulated. That nocturnal cycle, I comprehended. Totality, concluded. Internally, something clicked. Not affection, not resentment. Clicked, represented. Nah. I ceased embodying their gullible target. Already cognizant regarding required actions. Morning time, I contacted Stephen. His vocal tonality sounded somnolent, yet I articulated distinctly. Prepared documentation. Required matrimonial annulment. Based upon deception, accompanied by evidentiary support. He listened mutely, subsequently articulated. Transport, everything existent. Imagery, textual exchanges, financial repositories, totality. I compiled documentation across 2 diurnal cycles, printed telephonic specifics, highlighting Michael's nocturnal prominence. Preserved interface captures from exchanges Lauren herself neglected within cloud storage. Presumably disbelieved my intellectual capacity accessing it. There they, Michael and she, ridiculed me. Persist. Momentarily shall confiscate everything. Zero discourse regarding affection. Pure, avaricious computation. When Stephen observed this, he merely nodded. Shall proceed rapidly. I nodded identically. Lexemes proved superfluous. Lauren sensed irregularities. I discontinued disputing, ceased arguing, simply returned domestically, tardily, consumed nourishment mutely within culinary space, and slumbered within alternative chambers. She attempted coercing conversations nocturnally. Michael resolved, conversing. Accessed administrative chambers resembling proprietorship. Entered absent knocking. I occupied seating behind workstation, examining expenditure estimations. He collapsed with an opposing seating apparatus. Daniel, what's your malfunction, sibling? What perpetrates you, universally? Letarded, writing instrument. What perpetrate, I? You inquire, earnestly. He expanded manual appendages, but you misinterpreted everything completely, regarding Loronic, accidentally. You comprehend her disposition. She initiated, independently. I, merely. He protracted inhalation, resembling idiotic misinterpretation. Michael, I articulated evenly. You undergo termination. Instantaneously, he expanded ocular organs. You lack capability, possess capability, and execute. You labor beneath me nevermore, and possess zero monetary entitlement toward me. Michael, elevated rapidly. Fists compressed, yet comprehended articulatory incapacity. His linguistic specialties, murks and surreptitious manipulations. Pawn manipulatable absence. He embodies nullity. Eveningly, maternal presence arrived. Audibly, she commenced speaking entrance-wise, employing supplicating tonality. Daniel, offspring, what afflict you? Have intellects abandoned you? They represent familial unity. Extend forgiveness. Michael constitutes your sibling. Lauren, your marital partner. She positioned centrally within culinary territory. Manual appendages interlocked, resembling devotional postures. Maternal guardian, I articulated softly. Totality concluded. Annulment, petition submitted. Michael betrayed my trust. Lauren betrayed my trust. Conclusion attained. You may abstain from interference. She inhaled spasmodically, but genetically, he constitutes your sibling. He merely experienced disorientation. Lauren deceived him comprehensively. I chuckled bitterly, concisely. Disorientation. You observed their textual contents. They referenced me as monetary bovine. Disoriented, he, maternal guardian, lunged, embracing me. Yet I retreated. Should you elect them, alignment exists alongside them. I shall persevere independently. Maternal guardian observed, resembling thoracic laceration. Yet my concern remained absent. Sufficient pardoning individuals grinning, whilst subsequently penetrating financial repositories and sleeping quarters. Rapidly, Lauren received legal documentation. She vociferated throughout the apartment complex upon my portal access. You lack authorization. I shall confiscate everything. Your commercial enterprise, your Chicago residence, totality. I maintained calm positioning within the aperture, denying ingress. Favorable fortune, Lauren. Judicial reunion awaits. She departed, uttering imprecations, heels reverberating throughout stairwell structures. Following several heptamedes, we reunited inside judicial chambers. Stephen presented comprehensively imagery, printed materials, exchanged transcripts. Lauren attempted embodying the oppressed, blameless casualty, wept, alleging my psychological oppression, my perpetual surveillance. K, the adjudicator, absorbed this expressionlessly. Subsequently, Stephen elevated himself, articulating evenly, esteemed tribunal. We present demonstrable evidence indicating matrimonial formation occurred under fraudulent, financially motivated circumstances. This constitutes swindling. Lauren's expressions vaporized atmospherically. The adjudicator scanned documentation, nodded affirmatively, articulating precisely. Matrimony undergoes invalidation, recognition, set, distribution petitions undergo rejection. Lauren evacuated the chamber resembling scalded liquid. Michael neglected accompanying her. He independently experienced deterioration. Rumors indicated rejection, even for unskilled laborer positions. A return to domestically occupied seating within culinary territory. Pouring self-infused tea, tabular surface, drinking vessel, quietness. Zero extraneous vocalizations. Zero counterfeit smiles. Quietness, initially across multiple monthly cycles, felt authentically proprietary. I presumed conclusion attained here. Judicial documentation autographed. Lauren forfeited entitlement toward minimal currency. Presumably exhalation permissible. However, individuals resembling her and Michael lack silent departure capabilities. Lauren initiated offensively, crossed several heptamedes post-adjudication. Her social platform profile abruptly reactivated. Correlated, modeling publications. He exploited me comprehensively, sought me, terrorized me, confiscated everything. Commentary proliferated hundredsfold. Acquaintances initiated messaging. Daniel, what transpired interpersonally? K, merely mutely uploaded solitary narrative imagery. Captures of their exchanges alongside the recreational area photograph. Absent excessive verbiage. K, singular factual demonstration, finalized thematic discussion. Requisite individuals comprehended completely. Remaining individuals may proceed arbitrarily. Michael attempted infiltrating the construction zone, exploiting former connections, proposing superintendent services. However, rumors disseminate rapidly locally. Zero entities desired association alongside sibling betraying individuals for currency and romantic entanglements. Following several Hebdomad's colleagues from the location recounted him occupying bench proximity administrative offices, clutching alcoholic beverages, awaiting me, presumably intending reconciliation. One neglected emergence, permit perpetual occupation, maternal guardian, contacted additionally, multiple instances, initiating softly, quasi-maternally. Daniel, however, you represent a mature, masculine individual. Pardon them. Michael constitutes your sibling, genetically. Sans you. He undergoes dissolution. I maintained muteness, subsequently, employing intimidations. Consciousness shall torment you perpetually. I disconnected, courteously. Familial unity transcends genetic linkage. It embodies individuals abstaining from dorsal stabbings. I retain none presently. I purified everything comprehensively, restricted account accessibility, modified every cryptographic sequence, re-examined each commercial document. Stephen assisted restructuring corporate statutes lawsuit, impenetrable. Severed every linkage, potentially anchoring me historically. Its most arduous aspect, resisting rage, submersion. Retribution perpetuates their cerebral presence. I constructed partitions, permit decomposition wherever preferred. One monthly cycle post-adjudication. Aaron, my administrative coordinator, who'd stabilize operations throughout my personal warfare, approached nocturnally. Daniel, your condition. Keys, reconstructing existentially. Key, she grinned authentically. Caffeinated beverages. Accompany me externally. I grasped my outerwear from seating apparatus. Acceptable proposition. That evening, we occupied diminutive coffee establishment peripherally. She chuckled softly, narrating anecdote supervisors persistently disputing weekend alcohol consumption volumes. Meanwhile, I absorbed auditorily, recognizing cerebral absence regarding Lauren, Michael, maternal guardian. Initial instance across one annual cycle, their vocalizations vanished internally. Subsequently, I inserted myself inside my automotive transport, navigated beyond residential zones toward undeveloped land parcels bordering Indianapolis, my forthcoming development initiative. Positioned myself centrally upon barren terrain, observing distant urban glow. Previously, solitude terrified me. Presently, nevermore. Superior isolation, accompanied by personal dorsal protection, than knife-encircled existence awaiting betrayal. This chronicle presently transcends their relevance. It embodies my ownership. I finalized it conclusively. Everything they attempted extracting remained securely mine. Everything I historically surrendered reciprocally scorched their manual extremities. I reintegrated my automotive cockpit. Their manipulative activities conclude presently. Subsequently, exclusively personal initiatives, exclusively progressive trajectories.